It always surprises me every time I see in Tafon Nchukwi and I see 185 pounds. Like, it always astonishes me because I'm just like, how? You're 185 pounds for like 2 seconds, man. Like, word to Joe Rogan, right? But he does get a interesting test here against an AJ Dobson, who is admittedly coming off of two decision losses, but two very talented opponents in Armin Petrosian, fantastic Muay Thai striker, and Jacob Malkoun, who just mauls people on the ground. However, AJ, Tafon Nchukwi got served a slice of humble pie in his last fight against Carlos Ulberg. And I want to know, what are your thoughts, man? You fought Ozmat Mirzakhanov and Carlos Ulberg, who admittedly, in their own right, are arguably more dangerous than the two fighters I listed for AJ Dobson. So what is our thought process for both fighters coming into this?
Yeah, I'll start off with Tafon the Don and Nchukwi. If you're coming in after fighting, like you said, Mirzakhanov, Carlos Ulberg, a lot of these people that have had that narrative, especially Carlos Ulberg for sure, coming out of the city camp with Izzy, I forget the name,
City
City
Kickboxing.
Kickboxing.
Yep.
Coming out of that camp, having all that hype, having that kind of allure, especially against a Tafon that showed up, that did have that at the beginning, but then kind of started to fall into that obscurity range after the Junior Park loss. I think he sees a little bit of that, like, man, I could have had that. I could have had that. Where will I be to be able to get back to that position? Now, AJ Dobson, I don't think he's even sniffed that air of this is how my life's going to be. He's in it for the grind. He's in it for the fight. He's been there since day one, steadily counting his bricks, going up and up and up, and not really having to have that forward thinking of, man, it might happen, it might not, it might be taken from me, where it goes. In that kind of sense, man, the mental capacity seems to be on the Dobson side. But to that point, Derek, Tafon the Don, he's 185 pounds, 185 pounds for all of 0.3 seconds while he's on the scale. He has the power advantage. He might have the striking advantage. That one's definitely up for debate for me. Do you see this fight hitting the ground, or are we in for a good old-fashioned brawl right here?
Bro, when I saw this fight, man, I was like, if you're AJ Dobson, how do you not try to take this guy down? You have to. But that's the problem, is that AJ Dobson, if you think, oh, he's going to take him down, submit him, easy, hammer it, right? It's like, on one hand, I love that train of thought. On the other hand, the only guy who's been able to successfully kind of do that was Jun Yong Park. And even then, he couldn't submit him. He couldn't. Look at how dangerous Jun Yong Park is, and how he was not able to do that against Nchukwi, a fresh Nchukwi, like an Nchukwi who was like still coming into the UFC. So for AJ Dobson, both of these guys got some pretty wicked striking. I think so, personally. Tafon Nchukwi, I think he had like 14 Muay Thai fights or something like that, won like 13 of them. AJ Dobson, credentialed striker as well to a degree. But if they're standing and trading, man, I find it hard to just completely edge AJ Dobson. I see Tafon Nchukwi firmly in the driver's seat, but that's what scares me, man. What happens when Tafon throws the big shot, overextends, Dobson takes his back or whatever, or counters him, clips him, takes his back, drags him down, jumps on a choke, boom, controls him for the rest of the round. I don't know if it's going to be feasible, but I'm liking the submission chances and the grappling chances of AJ Dobson come late round 2, round 3, much more than I do fresh round 1, even though that's counterintuitive because normally you want to get them when they're dry and whatnot. But that's my thought process for this fight hitting the ground. Now, AJ, realistically, does this fight actually hit the ground?
I don't think so, Derek. I don't think so at all, brother. I'm expecting a phone booth right here. And I also think that's why the odds makers have that submission prop so high. Yeah, I would think it's more favorable for AJ Dobson to do that later rounds when all the muscles, all the, you're tired, you're sore, you don't want to be there anymore. That's when those are going to open up. But that's why it's plus 750 and plus 1,000. I don't think this fight's hitting the ground at all. I'd be surprised if this fight does not end in a knockout.
Give me the Tafon Nchukwi plus 265 TKO right here, bro. I mean, it's tough because AJ Dobson fought two pretty credentialed guys and snuck out some decision losses, not quitting on himself. But when you get hit firmly by Tafon Nchukwi, guys just don't really survive, man. And some guys do. Iron Turtle, right? Jun Yong Park, some of those guys, they do. But Carlos Ulberg proved that I got to get to him before he gets to me. And if AJ Dobson does not take that approach, I like Tafon here. What do you think?
I agree with you, Derek. And I think why I'm thinking TKO, that this fight's going to end in a knockout for either man, both of them have 2 losses. Both of them are somewhat in that camp of you're fighting for your job. We saw what happened to Tafon when Carlos Ulberg put that pressure. Same thing can happen if AJ Dobson puts that pressure, but Tafon always has a chance to knock you out. So I'm going Tafon the Don Nchukwi plus 265 TKO. I'm actually going to go late, Derek. I think this one will end a little later. Give me third round.